So today, what we want to do is talk about why automatic fire in infantry rifles is important, as well as being able to provide fast semi-automatic fire in a 3-foot group at 100 meters. Now, all the experts on YouTube seem to think that automatic fire in infantry rifles is a thing that should be gotten rid of. But what happens is they miss the point. So an infantry rifle is used against personnel, but it's also used against objects. So we shoot block walls, trucks, aircraft, buildings, shoot through trees, and destroy water tanks, oil tanks, fuel tanks, and many other things. So when you take the automatic fire feature away from an infantry rifle, you dilute its capability to engage aircraft, vehicles effectively. So in SHTF, killing trucks is going to be very important. So all the people that are talking about SHTF rifles, the automatic fire feature is very useful. Now, in the case that we don't have automatic fire, we have to be able to fire 3 to 5 rounds very rapidly into a 3-foot group at 100 meters. When we look at killing trucks in SHTF, what we find is it is more important to kill the truck than the occupant, because trucks in the military context and survival context are harder to replace than the truck driver. Now, we've talked many times about the fact that transpo or transport improvised expedient roads, bridges, culverts are extremely important, as are corduroy roads. And logistics, truck supply, and roads are just as important to opposition groups and the enemy as they are to us. So one of the main tasks that you would have in fighting enemy forces or opposition forces is killing their trucks. So when we look at killing trucks, we have two kinds of trucks. We have the cab over truck, which is common in militaries, and we have engine forward trucks, such as the civilian F-350. Now, we have military trucks in this configuration also. If you look at the Russian ZIL series, you look at Deuce and a Half, 5 tons in the U.S. Army, they have a similar configuration. And what's important about this is where you would engage. So if I had an automatic weapon and I had my ambush set up from 25 to 50 yards away, an infantry rifle could deliver burst fire into the 2 critical areas of this vehicle. Now, when we look at killing vehicles, we have 2 criteria or situations. One criteria is we want to stop the vehicle as soon as possible. The other mission is we want to destroy the vehicle so it cannot be used again. And your tactical consideration will determine which of the 2 that you engage in. Now, in the tactical situations where you want to destroy the vehicle rather than stop it, that is in a logistics disruption type event. And what we want to do is prevent it from reaching its destination or being reused in the future. So you want to do enough damage that it's not repairable. The Air Force did massive studies of this when they were bombing the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The U.S. Air Force destroyed over 50,000 trucks on the Ho Chi Minh Trail during the Vietnamese War. So when we look at a truck like this, what happens is you look at the front hub, axle, and engine is in the forward component area here. So on the front of this vehicle, what you would want to do is use the hub as an aiming point and climb, firing 5 rounds through the hub, axle, tire, and the engine itself. So with an automatic weapon, you would sight it at the hub and you'd fire a 3 to 10 round burst. This would give you the maximum likelihood of making the vehicle unserviceable from then on. Because if you can get hits in the hub, the tire, and several hits in the engine, then the vehicle is pretty much unrepairable from the cab forward. Your secondary aiming point is in the passenger compartment. And what you're looking at in the passenger compartment is not only hitting the driver, but destroying the dash, the controls, the steering wheel, and possibly setting the vehicle on fire. Now, when we're looking at cab over trucks, which is the other predominant type, a lot of those are in the military, such as this Penzgauer, Unimogs, and also the TAM series and a lot of the heavy trucks in the Russian and Chinese military. Now, the good thing about a cab forward truck when you're trying to destroy one is everything is in one vertical line. So when we look at the bottom, we have the hub, the tire, suspension, axle, and then when we get up to the door, what you're going to find is the person sits on the same level or slightly above the engine. So we're going to take a look inside. So when we're looking in this vehicle, you can see that the seat here is the level that the human being would be at, as is the steering column and controls. And then directly behind us at waist level is the engine. So if you fired a 5 to 10 round burst starting at the center or lower part of the hub of this vehicle, and you allow it to climb up until the top of the roof line, you would actually hit the hub, the tire, the axle, the driver, possibly the steering wheel control system, and definitely engine hits. Now, the reason I've been showing you the side of these vehicles is in an ambush situation or in a situation where you have distant engagement, the side is the most likely point that you're going to be firing on these vehicles in an ambush. And what we're looking at here is using a 5 to 10 round burst or a 5 to 10 round rapid fire scenario with a semi-automatic. And what you want to do is start at the bottom of the hub and work up to the ceiling of the vehicle. And as I said, on a cab over or a tractor trailer, in a lot of cases, you just have one aiming point and you engage everything. If you have the engine forward type vehicles like the F350 or the deuce and a half, then you would want to do 5 rounds on the tire up through the engine, and then 5 rounds through the area where the driver is sitting and the controls are. Now, one of the big considerations is when you're engaging in killing trucks, one of the most effective weapons is a 7.62 NATO versus the 5.56 that everybody recommends for survival. So you're going to want to decide which weapon you want to use to engage vehicles, because this is a common thing in SHTF, whether it's a supply vehicle, a technical passenger vehicle, you're going to need the capacity to destroy the transpo that is in opposition to you. So when you're thinking about weaponry, always include 7.62 NATO, because you can access incendiary, explosive, tracer rounds, and armor piercing. In the civilian context, the armor piercing would be armor piercing handgun ammo under current federal regs. So in SHTF, you may get some of that, but in current situation, you can't possess that unless you have destructive device license. Now, with the 30-06, you're going to find that you can engage with M2 armor piercing, and that's not a regulated round. So please share your thoughts. We'll see you on the next video.